regarding the fighter pay. So, Karan, there have been a lot of questions that are floating around the internet asking like how much salary that does
I
an
love
Indian
this
fighter
question.
get. So
Yeah.
I don't want. Maybe you might not be able to pinpoint. I don't want you to pinpoint. Can you just tell us a range, or how does fighter pay work in India according to you? Like you've been part of the MMA
Um.
community for a long time, so.
Well, I think my career doesn't define the word pay. I've never gotten paid for a fight. Uh, until I fought at the underground fight nights events, but even that was an amateur fight. So that wasn't a lot of money. But as an amateur, your goal should not be to earn as much money as you possibly can through fighting. As an amateur, when you have an amateur status, um, it doesn't say anywhere unless you sign a contract with a promotion that says that they will pay you so and so amount um, for a certain fight or for making weight or a guaranteed fee that you get for showing up and making weight. Because even in actual fighting, you don't get paid to fight unless you get a bonus. You get paid to make weight and show up because the athletic commission is what sanctions you to fight, and that's what you get paid for. So your base salary is what you get when you get paid to weigh in. The bonuses that you get, or the post-fight bonuses that you might get, the pay that you are expecting, the big pay that fighters usually expect as bonuses, are what you get if you have a standout, um, if you have a standout win, or if you have something that sets you apart from everybody else, like a fight of the night, like a submission of the night, knockout of the night, what whatever, you know. So, but it comes down to it comes down to a very simple aspect of payment for athletes now. Uh, Ronda Rousey and Kevin Holland put this in the best way, you know, where they talked about what fighters bring in for the company, they get from the company. So if you're bringing in more pay-per-view numbers, how it works for some fighters at the UFC at the UFC, this is how it works for some fighters. I don't know about how Indian fighters are getting paid besides the money that they are promised on the contract contract in terms of their bonuses. Excuse me, sorry. Um, but because I haven't fought my first pro bout yet, but I understand a little bit of how it works from the contract that I was given from the first pro promotion that I'm going to be fighting at. Anyway, um, at at a certain level at the UFC, there are certain uh, perks of being a top 10 fighter. There are certain perks of being a pay-per-view fighter, so to speak. You know, there's a difference between a fighter, a regular fighter, that is a statistic or a roll number in the UFC, and Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor brought ice to the sport. He got pay-per-view bias to the sport. And he was doing crazy shit like knocking out Jose Aldo, by dismantling Eddie Alvarez, by completely demolishing Donald Cowboy Cerrone. You know, there's so many things that that guy did for the sport in terms of just getting eyes on the sport, which is why he got his remuneration back hefty, in such a hefty, in such a hefty manner. I'm sorry, I can't think of very good words right now, but too many words right now. But a lot of fighters have the sense of entitlement when they turn pro that they should be getting paid a certain amount. Like, I'm not fighting for less money than this. I'm not fighting for less money than $3,000, $4,000. Now, if you've been around, like I'm sure you know, but if you've been around the scene in India long enough, you know that there are some fighters that are calling for $10,000 for the fight and they can't throw a single punch. You know, it's a sense of entitlement that professional fighters get because they think that they sign a contract and they can talk shit. What they need to realize is that signing a contract and talking shit does not make you a professional. Talking shit online and making people feel small and, you know, trying to hype yourself up does not make you any bigger, does not make your skills any better. It might get you a few views. It might get you it might get you a lot of attention. But again, at the end of the day, if you're not a good fighter, you're not going to get paid. You don't have the skills to back that up, you're not going to get paid. Unless you're somebody like Jake Paul that has a reach in a different aspect of entertainment, you know, because what we do is very niche. But if somebody that already has a couple of million followers as a fan base in a different form of entertainment comes to the sport and does something crazy like that, obviously he's going to get eyes. Obviously he's going to get attention for it. But if you're not that person, if you're a regular Joe like me, if you're a fighter that's making his debut, you can't be calling shots with a company and telling them that you have to pay me this much or I'm not going to fight with you. There's a million more where they fucking came from. You know, there's a million more fighters that are willing to do a lot more for a lot less amount of money. So the sense of entitlement is what I feel brings up this conversation a lot. Because what people don't understand, like I said at the beginning of this point, is what you give to the company or what you get in for the company in terms of views, in terms of ticket sales, in terms of buys, is what you're going to get from the company. Let's say an MFN, a person that was recently, who was the guy from Serbia that Sanjit Budwar fought. So you think about a 20-year-old kid from Serbia that gets a shot against Sanjit Budwar in his MFN debut. Now, this is not his pro debut. People need to understand that. A lot of my friends came up to me and said, "Oh my God, he's earning so much money compared to the guys on the undercard. Everybody should be paid fairly." Absolutely not. He's 20 years old. He's earned a shot against Sanjit Budwar, one of the most scary strikers, scary fighters in general in India to be fighting. Hopefully I get to fight him one day. I'm not gonna lie. I'm really looking forward to getting that chance one day, very respectfully. But a guy like that who's proved himself, who has done what he's done at his age, gets to call these shots. If he was to call any shots, I'm sure they would give him that shot. Guys like the Brazilian guy that Abdul Badakshi fought, the second one, not the first one. That
Marcelo.
was a great fight. Marcelo, yeah. He These guys get to call shots. These guys get to say, you know what, pay me this much or I'm not fighting. Because they have reached that position. Like even Abdul Badakshi for that matter. I know it's a very sensitive topic to talk about at the moment, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Like even a fighter of his caliber, given whatever he did, that's besides the point. Shrikant Shekhar or Anshul Jubli or somebody like that. All these guys get to call their shots because they have done enough for Indian MMA. They have done not and they continue to do more. Guys that continue to prove themselves, that have put in more years of hard work, that have sacrificed more time with their families, sacrificed money for them, sacrificed happiness, sacrificed time with their friends. That shit counts. And not to say that the other people aren't doing it, they just haven't done it to the level that these guys are doing it at. Some people talk about fair pay, fair pay, fair pay. You need to understand where you stand before you can make a conversation about fair pay. And two ways to fix that immediately is get a good manager, or look around for a good manager if a good manager does not come to you, and educate yourself on how fighter pay works. Because if you understand that you are a commodity, you are like fighters are mere commodities to promotions. Now it can seem very crude when I say that, but at the end of the day, we get paid to do a job. We are the company's employees. All the fighters on the roster of MFN are employees of MFN. And if they are doing their job, they get paid. If they do their job well, they get paid more. As long as they keep doing their job well, they'll continue getting paid more because the company grows, then the money comes in. When the money comes in, the fighters get more money. It's as simple as how it works. Now, there are your exceptions of bad promoters, dirty promoters that steal from fighters, that steal money from coaches, that put unfair numbers on a contract, take money from fighters. I'm not going to name names, but they know who they are. But yeah, man, it's people need to educate themselves on, and this is all information I've gotten from YouTube. I've gotten from speaking to people in sport analytics, because this is something that I'm looking to do after I'm done fighting as well. I want to get into commentary, analytics, sport journalism. I want to do these things. So I do this with an interest. So I can tell you that you need to educate yourself on how fighter pay, how getting paid works for fighters. Some fighters make a percentage of what the live gate of the show is. Right. So some fighters like Kamaru Usman, some fighters like these champions that do make money off the fight card being named after them. Now you saw this UFC 277, right?
278.
278, sorry. UFC 278 was Usman versus Edwards 2, right? These people obviously make a percentage of the live gate that the show makes. So they get like, the live gate would probably make in pay-per-view buys, or sorry, the ticket sales is what live gate means. But these guys get a certain percentage of that, which is a whopping amount of money. So at a certain level, professional fighters have different forms of revenue, whether it's from sponsors, whether it's from the live gate of a show, whether it's from the percentage of whatever, or if it's from the commission of some sponsorship that they might have, that they do sales with. Now, the best example of this I can give you is Dustin Poirier with Vanquish Fit. The more products of theirs, or Everlast Boxing, whatever products of theirs he sells with a coupon code, and those coupon codes get you a certain percentage of that. So you get like 10% off of each sale by using that discount code. So whenever people put up discount codes and stuff on their social media, it's mostly just to get more sales done through the athletes themselves. So the athletes are mere brokers between the customer and the company, between B2C. It's basically B2C, but with a middleman in the end, in the middle. But yeah, so some fighters at a certain level do have multiple forms of revenue, which is why you see them earn so much. The sheer value of getting money from the live gate or the live or the contract that you've signed for the fight may not be that much, which is why fighters find different ways of getting money outside the cage. TJ Dillashaw has his own herbs and spices and food company, right? The DC has his own barber shop. There's so many things that fighters do. Even Stipe Miocic is a fireman. He's a full-time fireman. You know what I mean? There's very few fighters, barring guys like Conor McGregor, barring guys like Dustin Poirier, Charles Oliveira, that get to do this full-time. Alex Volkanovski. But even Alex Volkanovski is doing so many different things with his life. He's got his own cooking channel. He's doing things to increase his stock that brings in more revenue for him. So fighters that think that they can just keep fighting and getting paid are delusional. Of course, that is your prime focus, that is your occupation, that is what you are known by. But the world keeps moving forward, and with that, fighters need to move forward as well. You need to be able to find something to do besides fighting and learn to manage your time with it. Because people will make the argument saying, no, I would rather spend all my time fighting and recovering. Absolutely not. There are fighters that up until they get into the UFC, like Conor McGregor, that are collecting minimum wage checks, that are collecting, and that's only in minimum, and that's only in welfare countries, countries that offer social welfare. In India, guys are fucked. In India, guys have to stop fighting if they don't have the money. But what sets us apart is that we should be willing to do the work to get where we want to get. Fighting is a privilege. You can't get to a certain level without earning the right amount of money in the sport, obviously, because you can work as hard as you want to, but if you're not making the right business moves, you're not going to move forward in the sport. It's an entertainment sport at the end of the day. You need to get eyes on you. You can't just expect to wake up and be like Khamzat one day, But even Khamzat, he's got market value. He speaks like Khabib. He's funny like Khabib, but he's more dark. But he's a very marketable fighter. And the fact that he's so dominant is the cherry on the icing on the cake. So there's so many different things that come together for different athletes, and it's far beyond their fighting skill set. Of course, they do all their talking in the cage, they do all the talking with their skills, whatever you want to call it. But they have these marketable aspects about themselves where they can see how they can sell themselves. Darren Till and Hamzat's vlogs were getting so many views and getting so much fame, where their stock just kept going up and up and up and up. So it's awesome to see how the sport is evolving and how it's helping athletes evolve as well. Problem is athletes don't want to evolve unless they see it for themselves. They think that they can train 3 hours a day and call that a job. They think that they can train 3 hours a day, sometimes twice a day, and call that a job. That's not a job, man. You're training. It's the bare minimum you have to do. If you still want to earn money outside the cage, you have to find different ways of doing it. And I'm not saying go and get a 9-to-5 job somewhere else. I'm saying learn to become more marketable if you're looking to become a better fighter. Because when you become more marketable, you get better fights. Leon Edwards, all this while, did not get a title shot until he proved himself. Right? He had to prove himself time and time and time and time again, and he got caught by Nate Diaz in his last fight, which could have easily derailed him. But circumstances of that division is that Kamaru Usman was lapping these guys. He's fighting guys again and again and beating them, and in a bad way. Like he was dominating guys and looking almost invincible until Leon came along, and he undid what he had done wrong in the past. So there's so many aspects to the sport that will be so unpredictable, but you have to kind of try to find your own path. So long story short, what you get in for the company is what you're going to get out of it.